Now that we are familiar with plotted drawings to a measurable scale, I would like to circle back and talk a little more about annotation. As a general rule, we would never annotate a drawing until we know the plot scale. That's because the plot scale determines how large the text needs to be, such that it's readable on the printed sheet. In this lesson, we will learn how to create predictably sized text. On my screen I have a drawing that represents a site plan for a proposed restaurant. I have already created a layout for the drawing. Let's click and take a look. This layout represents an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. If I zoom in, we can see that the geometry is being represented at a scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet. Now, I don't have to take this note's word for it. I can always verify that scale. I'll do that by double clicking inside the viewport boundary, and if I look down here at the viewport scale, I can see it is set to 1 to 40. I can also see the viewport is locked. This way I can accidentally change the scale when I pan or zoom. Note that I have verified the scale. I'm going to move my cursor outside the viewport boundary and I will double click. I would then like to zoom in and focus our attention on these road center lines. Take a look at the line type. Let's jump back to model space. In here, this same line work looks like it's continuous. Not true enough. Not true though. If I zoom in close enough, we can see the line type. Believe it or not, these dashes are the same size here as they are on the layout. The difference is the geometry in here is a lot larger. It's true size. Historically, this is what has made assigning text types in model space challenging. I mean, how large should I create text here such that it's predictably sized on the Layout tab? Well, fortunately, we don't have to calculate the math anymore. If we use an annotative text style, AutoCAD will take care of all of the work for us. I would like to create a note inside this building that says proposed restaurant, and I would like that note to measure 0.1 inch tall on the printed sheet. To create my text, I'll start by opening the annotation panel, and I would like to create a new text style. I'm going to call this labels. I will use the Arial font. I'll then come down and put a check in the annotative setting, and when I do, watch the height value over here. Notice that this now says paper text height. All I have to do is assign the height. I would like this text to appear on the printed sheet, and AutoCAD will do the rest of the work for me. I will set my paper text height to 0.1 and I will hit enter. If we look over here to the left, you can see the text style that we just made has an icon next to it. This represents that this text style is annotative. I'm going to close the dialog box. The text style I just made is now current. Whenever we place text in a drawing using an annotative style, AutoCAD is going to look right here to set the height. So what I need to do is open the annotative scale menu and select the same scale that is being used for my plot, 1 to 40. I would also like to do a regen. I'll type RE and press enter. And when I do, you can see that since I've changed the scale as a courtesy, AutoCAD is also adjusting the line type such that they match what we see on the layout. To create the text, I'm going to launch the multi-line text tool. If I zoom in, you can see that this text is appropriately sized for a 40 scale plot. I'm going to click to set the first corner, and I'd like this text to be rotated. So I'll come down and select rotation from the command line. I will click to define the rotation and finish my column. I'll then type proposed restaurant. I will also select this text and I'll make it center justified. If I select the text and come over the properties palette, we can also see here that the text is annotative. It's annotative at 40 scales. Here's the paper text height that we assigned, and here's the height AutoCAD used in model space to achieve that point 1 inch tall on the Layout tab. I'm going to deselect this and then I will click on the layout so we can take a look. As you can see, the text is easily readable. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer and we will do a quick distance here. I'll just open the Utilities panel and click Measure. Now there are no object snaps out here. I'm just going to click Close. I'll put my first point, and as I pull this out, you can see the text is in fact 0.1 inch tall. Let's do a zoom extents. I'll jump back to model space, and I'd like to create one more note. I would like to label this street using text that measures 0.2 inches tall on the printed sheet. So let's create another text style. This style will be specific to my street names, so I'll call it street names. I'm going to use the Arial black font such that the text has a bold appearance. AutoCAD is remembering the annotative property from before, so I'll come over and set the paper text height to 0.2. When I'm finished, I will click Apply and Close. To label the street, I will use a multi-line text again. As you can see, my annotative scale is perfect. I will launch the text command and zoom in. I will click my first corner and I'll change the justification. We will set this to middle center. I'll click to define the other corner of my column, and this street is Oakmont Lane. And you know, since I'm typing this text over line work, I'm going to come up to the formatting panel and click the background mask button. I will make sure Use Background Mask is turned on. I will also make sure Use Drawing Background Color is turned on. When I click OK, AutoCAD will use the background color of model space to mask out that line work behind the text. Now that I'm finished, we will go back out of the layout and take a look. So when it comes to annotating and drawing, the first thing to consider is your plot scale. Once you know this, text creation is made easy. Simply use an annotative style and match its scale to the scale of your plot.